Alright, I'm Adam, that's Pete, that's Vince, and this is the Toon in 10 Transfer Deadline Day special. Alright? Get in!
Best day of the year for me. Best day of the year.
Most disappointing day of the
I'm
day.
just sad that it finishes at 5 o'clock today. That's the only thing I'm sad about.
Right. Okay, so first half, 5 minute half, once the timer goes, we stop talking, that's it. You all know how it works now. Okay? Time at the ready. Let's talk about Newcastle transfer deadline days of the past. Go.
The biggest one for me, and I think it's probably, well, it's the most we've ever received for a player, and it was the biggest value deal of that day, and it was part of the Torres one, which was massive, was selling Carroll. When we sold Carroll 4 years ago, was it 2011? Yeah, January 2011. When we sold Carroll for £35 million,
Wasn't it? They were called
half a season in the Premier League.
But they were like 25 million. We were like, no. 30 million.
Well, no. Apparently,
No.
apparently, the deal was that Ashley said, it's 15 million less than what you get for Torres. That's how much we want for Carroll. That was apparently.
So that was the setup.
Just absolutely.
It's a funny one.
Incredible.
Yeah, obviously hindsight's a brilliant thing, and we all knew at the time 35 million was a ridiculous amount of money. But it was in the middle of quite a frustrating time, and we have been for a while with Ashley. And it was like, well, hang on, that had been talked about throughout the whole month, and we seemingly had not one person lined up. And he went and 35 million's a lot of money, brilliant. It's nice to line Ashley's product, did nothing for our team. And actually, it was just I remember the footage on Sky Sports News of Carroll at Melwood or whatever walking past.
Yeah, helicopter down.
And I remember being like, he's actually gone. And I remember being gutted. And I was never a massive fan of Carroll, but it was more the fact that we'd sold him, we had no contingency in place.
Yeah.
And we had who did we have in front after that? After Carroll?
Who's this guy?
Was Leon Best there at that point?
Yes, it was because of the Arsenal 4-4. Yeah.
So who else apart from Carroll? What's the other big sort of?
Well, we obviously one of the biggest ones that I remember was actually on the same day as Tevez and Mascherano. Joined Pardew's West Ham, and that was Antoine Sobieski, which was a big dull dud. I remember me and my mates piled in another of my mates' house down at Brighton, and we were drinking all day. We were playing FIFA tournaments, and Sobieski, and everyone was just kind of was.
Nah, that's not. Can't be. Yeah.
It was
Was he
incredible.
at Wigan at the time?
He came from Man City.
Yeah.
Which is honestly mesmerising. The other point, we Nzogbia left us on transfer deadline day before.
We got Taylor in.
Ryan Taylor in, which I would argue is probably one of the best deals we've done.
They paid for Nzogbia as well, didn't they?
Yeah. 5-6
Yeah, we
million
got money plus Ryan Taylor.
But Ryan Taylor, hello, Ryan Taylor himself has kind of been he was a really good club servant, and it kind of get him as a make weight in a deal. We've done all right there.
Well, I was glad to get shot.
I tell you what's the weird thing, just of the examples there, like Carroll, at the time, aside from the money, I was disappointed, but in hindsight, great deal. Probably Nzogbia and Ryan Taylor at the time. Nzogbia was younger, maybe it was a bit like, ugh. Sobieski, it never did anything for Newcastle, but for free, he scored a couple of goals.
But in terms of like changing your opinion, Michael Owen signed in 2005
and then
for club record fee.
Well, how excited I was at the time.
I'd argue wasn't. I mean, don't get us wrong. I can't stand the guy. I really cannot. But his goal ratio for Newcastle was about 1-3, and he was injured for a lot of that. And you think he obviously didn't live up to his expectation. However, I think for me it was
at the time we were buzzing.
The magnitude.
I think he was unlucky. I think the
magnitude
got away with England.
Yeah.
Absolutely screwed him. And in fairness, we got money back from the FA for that.
We did,
so we
yeah.
didn't end up too much out of pocket.
But for the magnitude of being able to attract someone like Michael Owen, who was about England's best world-class striker at the time.
Amazing.
We tried to get Rooney the year before, but to get Michael Owen up front with Alan Shearer, it was kind of like another Shearer-Ferdinand situation for me. Good England strike force.
Was those two in the pomp?
Like unreal.
They'd be ripping everyone a new one.
But he got injured at Tottenham, I think it was, and then like you say, and those two injuries just screwed him. No, you can't. But
no.
I mean, he wasn't too.
I
he wasn't too complimentary about Newcastle after he left. Obviously, he's more bothered about his horses as far as I was concerned.
Do you remember who else we signed on that day, though? Didn't we? We brought back Nobby Solano on the same day.
Nobby Solano
Came back.
Oh yeah.
and he was really cheap, and he was actually playing pretty well for Villa. I remember at the time. I remember thinking, I'm very surprised Villa got rid of him, but apparently he wanted to come back.
Well, yeah,
the restaurant, hasn't he?
Sheki Kuchi came when Carroll went, which and I can argue that there was sort of sense in that deal in the fact that he was on a free, he was just available, and do you know what it is? He's a big tall body that sort of would fill a Carroll-shaped hole for the rest of the season, and obviously I think he played about
holes,
5
talking
games.
About holes, I do believe we signed Cisco on the transfer deadline day in 2008.
I think Keegan enjoyed that one. And that's our time. What do you think, Oscar? Any good, mate? All right, welcome back to the second half of this transfer deadline day special on the Toon and 10. The second half, I thought we could maybe have a ponder and look at the transfers that have already happened this summer, incoming into the Premier League, which players that have been signed by Premier League clubs this summer would we have liked to have seen in a Newcastle shirt? Go.
I think realistically, I think not getting Stephen Corker in on a loan was a massive miss by us. I think we could have competed with Southampton. I think on a loan as well, we could have even offered a permanent deal and maybe used that as leverage to get him perhaps
2 seasons in a row. Exactly. 2 seasons in a row of Mr. Corker.
Well, I mean, as much
relegated 2 seasons on the bounce.
Well, that's it. But then I still think that he's not solely to blame for those relegations, and actually it'll build his character up. I mean. I'm not the relegation. I'm saying it's 2 seasons in a row where last season I thought, why would you have chose QPR over us if we went for him, and why Southampton, I guess, but I still think we could have offered him something that we could. I mean, if we kind of look at players this summer who are, I know we could say, we'd love to sign Pedro, we'd love to sign, Schweinsteiger, but if we look at realistic signings as well, I mean, you'd argue that Shaqiri wasn't a realistic signing for Stoke, but hell, it surprised us all. I mean, would you have taken Shaqiri? I mean, is that just an obvious yes? I mean, he's an incredible player, but you wonder about his motives and his motivation this season. And actually, is he going to give you much?
It is an odd one going to Stoke, but I still think, I don't see why as a fan you wouldn't want Shaqiri.
No.
But
it's weird because why didn't this Inter Milan? I think Inter Milan's name precedes them these days. People forget how bad the Milan teams were. They finished like mid-table in Serie A. There's not much quality in that team, and if he wasn't,
it was the first year for a very long time that neither of the Milan teams finished in European qualification.
I think his reputation's preceded him a bit in the fact that he did well at Basel. Did he go from? Then he would have done. Bayern, he wasn't really getting in there, and he went to Inter. So I'm not so sure that we have missed out.
I think he's quality, but I think I just worry about his motivation. I mean, looking at players that have kind of impressed me in the first few games. Adama Traore he came from Barcelona. He's gone to Villa. I think he was involved in a goal against Crystal Palace, the Suarez own goal. He looks a beast for me. Like he's quite stocky but really quick, powerful. I quite like the look of him.
I really like the look of that IU.
On a free as well.
What really impressed me about Swansea was that they did a lot of their business early, and I've said that before on the Toon and 10. But Ayew was obviously a player that we'd looked at before. But we never went for him. Swansea swooped for him, sold it to him, and him and Gomez from sort of Ligue 1 sort of joining up again.
They've been as well.
Been absolutely incredible.
I appreciate this is kind of on topic, but one player. No. But in terms of I'm not a massive fan of Idora. So is there any left backs who have gone this window?
Joe Gomez. I love Joe Gomez.
Could we have competed with Liverpool?
I think so. If he's at Charlton, he's there for the taking for me. And obviously, we've gone in for players head to head with Liverpool before and come out on top, and we've signed some excellent players this season. There's no reason why we couldn't have done if we'd sold it to him. I mean, there's ultimately
how much did they pay for him?
I honestly don't know.
He was cheap, was he? He was quite cheap. Was he not a player that signed in January though, and then he came later?
I don't know. But ultimately, you kind of look at the start of the season, you think, well, Gomez has more chance of getting in our team than he has at Liverpool, but now that he's actually broken at Liverpool, he's Moreno's on the bench, which I always question defensively. He's an excellent attacking fullback, but his defensive, I was always a bit shaky, and he showed that actually at St James's Park last season.
What's the issue with Tyrone Mings if we're talking about left backs? That was
doesn't play, does he?
linked
We
with
were linked with him.
£8 million, and he's not. What's the issue there?
Yeah.
He's not starting for
He's
Bournemouth.
a massive signing for Bournemouth, Christ.
£8 million.
Big guy as well, but he just hasn't.
I would have liked to have seen. It's interesting we haven't actually got anyone really on loan. Like I would have even take someone like Bamford on loan.
We're reversed the loan.
Bamford on loan. You've got.
I know, yeah, but
You've got Dale Lefebvre, who Barcelona young prodigy, went to Everton on loan, tried to make it at Barcelona. Actually, he's ended up signing there permanently.
Well, Lukaku as well. Look at Lukaku.
Okay.
Why we were never in for Lukaku on loan when he went to West Brom? And
I don't know why we simply miss a
Everton.
trick in that area, and we don't.
We're too proud for loan players.
I don't know. Talking of strikers, Rondon, Salomon Rondon.
He's a player for West Brom.
I honestly think he's incredible. I mean, again, I know he's ace on Football Manager, which actually has more credibility now. But from what I've seen, but he's already he assisted the other day again. I think it was Morrison's first goal against Chelsea. And you're seeing he's doing overhead kicks and the like, and he was the guy who got brought down for Terry sending off. Stop! That's full time. That's another half that's gone over really quickly.
Yeah,
anyway, well, thanks very much for watching. This has been the Toon in 10. I've been Adam. That's been Pete. That's been Vince.
Happy transfer deadline day.
Hey! This has been the transfer deadline day special. Share with all your friends on Facebook, Twitter. If you like what you've seen, subscribe on YouTube as well. And we'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.
Fingers crossed for Toon decided by 5 p.m. Fingers crossed.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Get in.